Welcome back on the platform,
Thank
sir.
you, Ashwarya. Thank
How
you
have
very
you
much.
been?
Very good.
Very good. I think today is going to be a more candid episode. We can take a break from all the learnings that people need, and I think I think what you have is a very interesting journey. You have decades of experience. You worked with very, very big establishments. So I think today, I think it would be better, and it's very interesting to know what made you you today. When you talk about entrepreneurs and everything, you have a very you say that entrepreneur is a very broad category, and you say that there is no one definition to it. Do you have one definition for an entrepreneur? How would you describe an entrepreneur?
Well, Ashwarya, for me, an entrepreneur is someone who has an idea, has the will to be able to convert his idea into a reality,
Yeah.
or convert his dream into a reality, has the drive to see through whatever implementation the entrepreneur wants to do to fruition,
Yeah.
is able to build a business, is able to stay the course,
Yeah.
and is able to keep his or her sanity while going through
All of this.
the 24-hour workday
Yeah.
that the entrepreneur will live through
Yeah.
for several years of their life.
Did you have a concept like that? Did you have Sundays off, or did you?
I'd actually come out from after 25 years in the corporate world,
Yeah.
where from Friday evening till Monday morning was me time.
Yeah.
From the 2003 when I founded Guardian, the concept of me time disappeared. I was working 24 by 7, and I was doing any and every possible type of work. And I remember one particular instance. We had just started Guardian, and we were in a small little office,
Yeah.
and some of the ladies in the office complained about the toilets being dirty.
Yeah.
And the people hadn't come to clean, so I took a broom and I cleaned the toilet myself. Of course, everyone said, "Why are you doing it?" But
Yeah.
I said that, that is the reality of an entrepreneur. Today, you are the CEO of your company, and the guy who has ideated and put together this absolutely incredible business plan. And stark reality is that, floors have to be cleaned,
Errands have to be run.
errands have to be run, coffee machines have to work. And in my particular case, since I was in retail, I had to make sure that the shelves of the stores were clean because of the dust,
Yeah.
and the store floors had to be cleaned. And I remember doing this many times.
Many times. You talk about Guardian, and then I would touch on those errands a little later. But what made you take the plunge? Why did you finally take the plunge?
So I think every one of us, at the back of our mind, wants to be our own boss.
Yeah.
It depends entirely on when you decide to take that plunge, when you have the opportunity to do it. So
Yeah.
I know a lot of very young people who have taken the plunge in their early 20s.
Yeah.
And yet, there is the classical example of the founder of Kentucky Fried Chicken,
Yeah.
Colonel Sanders,
Yeah.
who I think started his entrepreneurial journey in his late 50s.
Yeah.
So there is really no right age. I decided to do it because after 25 years in the corporate world, I had the urge to tell myself that I had the capability to become an entrepreneur. So when I turned 46, I quit the corporate world and decided
To be the
let me
captain
do
of your own
something
ship.
on my own. Correct.
On your own. You spoke about ideating, and you spoke about, when we were talking about what is an entrepreneur, you listed out all of these things that only help an entrepreneur in fruition, towards fruition. Do you think finding your calling is enough in terms of if finding what works for you, what you think is a gap in the world today, and how you can pitch in? Do you think that is enough?
The biggest challenge every entrepreneur faces is not getting the right idea. A lot of people have a lot of great ideas. The bigger challenge is how do I implement my idea, right? So when Howard Hilton was asked how does he decide on where to locate his new hotel, and he said he only has 3 factors, which is location, location, and location. The same thing applies to entrepreneurship. You've got a great idea, it's implementation, implementation, and implementation. Because that's the only way you can achieve what you want to do, no matter whether you've met your calling or not. It's very important to be able to know what you want to do. But knowing what you want to do and actually doing it
are 2 different things. Okay. You just spoke about, wanting to do something and then doing something are 2 different things. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs become very discouraged because a lot of resources have to be expended in, actually making this a reality. A lot of times your family will not support you, or your circumstances are such that you can't, have the luxury of taking time off and, ideating and creating a successful entrepreneurial business. I'm sure that you must have also come across a lot of entrepreneurs who don't get family or financial support. What do you think would be the way out in circumstances like that?
So, there are different stages of life that we all start at. When I started, my expenses were at its peak. Because I was 46, I had 2 sons going to college, both going overseas. And therefore, I had to make sure that I created what I called a drop-dead money. Which meant that if tomorrow something happened to me, there was sufficient money available for my wife and my children to continue to retain the lifestyle that they had got used to. But that was because I had the luxury of having worked for 25 years, though I did not have the luxury of 25 years of time, which I may have used better. But I've met so many entrepreneurs who have great ideas, and that's how the term bootstrapping a startup has come, where you are actually able to make a start with something which is very small in terms of resources, and then there is enough opportunity available today for you to either do crowdfunding. And I see so many people who have raised money from individuals. There are a lot of angel investors available. I myself am an angel investor, and I invest in several companies. Not very, very large sums of money, but enough to be able to get a startup going. And once it starts moving, there is no shortage of money. And I've always believed that if you've got a strong business model, you as the entrepreneur are capable of delivering, then you will have no shortage of money. The second part is more important, which is you spoke about family support. I think that is where a lot of entrepreneurs falter. Because if you don't have the support of young people's parents, say, or someone who's married of their spouse, then the challenge comes, because then you are constantly balancing the stresses in your mind of your entrepreneurial journey and versus
your relationships
and peace at home. So I think that is something which you need to be able to resolve faster and earlier than trying to find money for your business.
Because it would take a lot more time also.
It'll take more time, it'll take more conviction. And it's important to carry family. You can't just walk away, because when things go wrong, it's your only support system that exists for you.
It's the only thing to fall back on.
Absolutely correct. And to me, money is only a commodity. There is no shortage of money for entrepreneurs with good ideas. That's a big rider.
You said an entrepreneur, whether he's new to the field or comes with experience, tackles many challenges. What are some of the learnings that you take away from your entrepreneurial journey with Guardian?
First is you are to be there around the clock. We just spoke about it. As someone commented, that an entrepreneur has the luxury of choosing which 20 hours of a day he wants to work. That's the luxury you have. but you have to work 20 hours in
20
any
hours
case.
a day.
The second one that I learned was that as the organization grows, you need to carry people. So management of the people in your organization are very, very critical. The third thing that's important is to be able to carry all the people who I call your stakeholders.
Okay.
So stakeholders are your investors, of course, but also your suppliers and your customers.
Yeah.
So if you've got a bunch of suppliers and you don't pay them on time,
Yeah.
and then you don't reach out to them and say that, why you have not been able to pay them on time,
Yeah.
they'll pull the plug from you
Yeah.
and stop supplies to you.
Yeah.
So that's another critical thing that you have to do. The fourth one, to me again, is health.
Okay.
An entrepreneur's health is very important because only if you remain healthy yourself will you be able to
Extend that
run
to-
your business and be there.
Yeah.
And I'm reminded of an old story again of Anil Ambani in the time when he was building Reliance, and he had gone for a road show with his father and his brother. And someone asked him a question on how could he be trusted with their money when he couldn't even manage his weight. Anil Ambani was
Okay.
very, very overweight in the old
yeah.
days. And I remember reading his article and him saying that that hit him very hard. And after that, he started running the marathon, and today he's one of the fittest people. So it's very important to be able to remain fit,
Yeah.
physically and mentally.
Mentally.
And finally, what's important is to be able to manage your money.
Yeah.
You need to know how much money your business is burning.
Yeah.
You need to know how much money your business is going to be earning.
Yeah.
And if you're, as most startups, burning more money than you are earning, then you need to figure out a way to keep bridging the gap.
Otherwise, you will combust.
Otherwise, you'll go bust.
Yeah.
And remember that raising money when you don't have it is far more difficult than raising money when you have it.
Yeah.
So those are some of the points that I would ask any entrepreneur to consider.
You just spoke about health also, and you spoke about the errands. Like I said, I will come back to it. You spoke about how you had to wear too many hats in a day. Do you think lifestyle plays a very big important role in being an entrepreneur?
Lifestyle, yes and no.
Okay.
I mean, I used to tell all of my young colleagues when I used to talk to them that when you come into a retail store, leave two things behind every morning. Number one, take off your watch
Yeah.
and leave it by the side of your bed because there's no place for time
Yeah.
in a retail store. And the second thing I used to tell them was that take off your ego and hang it on the hook behind your bathroom door because there's no place for ego in business. So therefore, it is important for any entrepreneur or anyone wanting to go down the journey to make sure that irrespective of what their lifestyle may be, you have to blend in with the lifestyle
You
that
choose
is
to.
needed in
Yeah.
your business
Yeah.
and needed to identify with the rest of your colleagues.
Did you have to make many changes?
No.
No. Even when you had to clean the washroom one day,
No,
it
I
wasn't.
didn't. It didn't bother me at all because I felt that whatever I was doing for my own entrepreneurial journey
Yeah.
and for the venture that I was creating, and therefore that was all that mattered.
So if you had to pitch in any way, you would have any. Yeah. Nonetheless.
And as an entrepreneur, remember that it used to hurt a lot when we were at almost 1,000 people in the company. I used to be amongst the last people to leave, and I would patiently go around switching off air conditioners, switching off lights.
Yeah.
Only because I felt that it was money that was being
Burning.
wasted,
Yeah.
right? Because someone hadn't bothered to switch
it
off
off.
all these.
Yeah.
So, yes, you have to be able to handle anything that comes your way.
Do you think for an individual, when undertaking an entrepreneurial venture, is it more important to have a fully detailed plan work or follow their gut?
To me, when someone says that this is my gut feeling,
Yeah.
gut feeling is really an extract of a lot of experience.
Yeah, or perception.
or perceptions.
Yeah.
You know, that very often you say that, you know, my gut feel says that something dramatic will happen in my business today. That's because you've, in your own mind, collated a whole lot of probabilities and said, this is what I expect will happen.
Yeah.
Right? So I think gut feeling is an important part for any entrepreneur. As far as a business plan is concerned, I think every entrepreneur must write out a broad framework of what they want to be able to achieve. Obviously, you can't foretell all the
Things that are going to come your
problems
way.
that will come your way and all the opportunities that will come your way. But you must have a broad parameter or a framework for the direction that you wish to go down on. So, again, staying with my own example, if I had, I had decided I want to build a pharmacy business
Okay.
with nutrition,
Yeah.
and if I suddenly started to say that, oh, I want to start selling sandwiches because I have retail stores,
It's contradictory.
it is contradictory to what my plan is,
Yeah.
and it would have destroyed the entire plan that I wanted to go down
Go
on.
down. Yeah.
So therefore, consistency is important, and staying within the framework of your business plan is important.
What did your business plan look like when you were thinking of starting Arjun?
So the first line of my business plan
Yeah.
that I wrote was build Boots in India.
Okay.
Boots, you may know, is England's largest pharmacy chain.
Yeah. Like a
And
drugstore.
Like a
It's
drugstore.
Yeah.
Right? And in America, the two big ones are Walgreens and CVS.
And Target also.
And Target is there.
Yeah.
And of course, there is Rite Aid.
Yeah.
But the two biggest ones are Walgreens
yeah.
and CVS.
Yeah.
And since I had been to the UK many times because of my earlier jobs, my first one was build Boots in India.
Yeah.
And I used to go and stand in boot stores in London for hours at a time.
Yeah.
I got to know most of the top leadership there. And I said, why can we not create something similar? And therefore, the look and feel of all the large stores of Guardian
Yeah.
were actually based on the design concepts that I learned in the UK.
Yeah. And what was the second step after building Boots?
Well, the second one was to get a small 300 square foot store
Yeah.
and actually start running it.
Yeah.
So I remember standing in the store
Yeah.
for at least the first 2-3 months, sometimes behind the counter. I'm not a trained pharmacist, but we had pharmacists employed.
Yeah.
But I was learning the business. So I would stand behind the counter, make the sale, cut the bills,
Yeah.
learn the systems. So it was a process that we went through. And even at later dates, what was most satisfying was to be in store
Yeah.
rather than sit in the head office.
And deal with paper.
Correct.
On a concluding note, what are your highlights? When you look back on your journey, do certain moments stand out to you in all the things that you have overcome, or when creating the successful Guardian Pharmacy it is today?
I think there are some interesting milestones that we went through.
Yeah.
The first one was really when we opened our first store,
Yeah.
because that itself was very important. And that first store, I used to visit, at least once a week.
Okay.
The second was when we got into the hospitals. At one stage, we were the largest pharmacy chain inside hospitals, in private and government hospitals. The third stage was when we decided to get into nutrition,
Okay.
and we signed GNC.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting story of how GNC came. I was in the US with my older son. He was looking at colleges, and we stopped at a mall to have lunch. I saw a GNC store. I walked in and I said, would you like to partner with us in India? They gave us the name and reference details of their leadership in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
I wrote to them, and that's how the whole relationship started. And that's how we got GNC into India. We were the first chain to have launched our own private labels under the Guardian brand.
Yeah.
So there were many milestones.
And many more to go.
And many more to go. I'm sure I have exited from the chain,
Okay.
but I'm sure the new owners will continue to grow it, and I'm sure they will keep finding very interesting opportunities. And one milestone I forgot to mention, and that's very dear to me, was when we decided to build the brand Guardian. Instead of spending money on advertising, I reached out to my friends in Hindustan Times and Dainik Jagran,
Yeah.
and we actually created a 4-page broadsheet
Okay.
called the Guardian Health Chronicle.
Oh.
And it used to come once a month with the, I think it was Wednesday, with the Wednesday edition of the Hindustan Times all over the NCR,
Okay.
and in English and in Hindi.
Okay.
And it became so popular that people would call our office and say, "Do you have last month's edition, and can we get a copy?"
Oh.
So it was 4 pages of great data
Yeah.
on healthcare.
We have an upcoming question from one of our viewers. And he says, as you grow as an entrepreneur, you need to trust others to grow your business and take executive decisions. Do you expect them to do it with the same passion as you do? Or do you accept the reality that my business is my baby?
So this is an interesting dilemma every entrepreneur faces, and I think I've addressed this in different conferences many times.
Yeah.
You can either remain small and keep control of everything that you have in your business,
Yeah.
or you can build a team of trusted people who can never have the same passion as you,
Yeah.
but who will certainly have the same amount of commitment because you are grooming them and because you are giving them a stake in the business, either through a profit share or through stock options
Yeah.
or through more senior positions.
Yeah.
So it is important for you to grow the business and for you to get a group of trusted individuals who will be able to grow the business along with you. Because if you don't get people, then even your existing people will start to say, what happens to us? Where do we grow?
How do we grow?
So therefore it's necessary and it's essential for you to expect growth, get good people, and at the same time also recognize that your costs will increase.
Yeah.
Hopefully your revenues and your profits will increase faster than your costs.
Costs.
And you also have to start to learn to overlook
Yeah.
errors that are being made. I used to get very agitated in the early days when I would find errors being made, and my first reaction would be, "Oh, you can't do it, I'll do it myself." But then I realized that if I wanted to try and do everything myself, then I didn't have time to do what I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
So therefore, it's a great question from one of our listeners.
Yeah.
But my only answer is that get good people, learn to delegate, and keep growing the business.
All right. Okay. That's really nice. Thank you, sir. Thank you. And thank you for sharing your experiences and highlights of your entrepreneurial journey. It was a great conversation.
Thank you, Ashwarya.
Thank you. I hope, Arni, I hope it answers your question. And we'll come back with another episode soon. Thank you.
Thank you.